Hello listeners, this is Elizabeth from the future. I've just finished editing this episode and I just thought I'd give you a little heads up. My audio quality in the recent episodes has significantly improved as I have a new microphone. However, this was recorded a few months ago and so we're talking through the old laptop microphone. Also, sometimes my audio cuts out randomly, so unfortunately you might miss a few bits of dialogue, particularly from our special guest, my mum. I hope you can enjoy the episode anyway, and I apologise for any inconvenience. Let's crack on with the episode. Hello and welcome to Potterwatch from Page to Screen, episode 14. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Lucy.
Today we'll be joined by a special guest, my mum, Diana.
Hello.
The ethereal witch herself. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I suppose you want my Potter story?
Yeah.
So I got into Harry Potter through my eldest son, whose teacher was reading it to him in year 3. And he came running out of school telling me all about it, and we had to go to the library and get the books. He called it the Philosopher's Stone. And I thought he was about 9, I think, at that time. Yeah. And when he'd gone to school one morning, I thought, I have to read this and see what he's so excited about. I was hooked from the first sentence, and that was it. So so that's how I got into it, and I've just loved it ever since. So I've read them all. I don't know how many times I've lost count.
It was a downward slope from there.
Yeah. So I am in Gryffindor House. My wand is Maplewood. It has a unicorn hair core, 10 3/4 inches, quite bendy and flexible. And my Patronus is a mink.
What wood is it? Your
Maplewood.
Maple. That's cool.
Which is good because I like maple syrup.
I was going to say you must be very sweet.
What about that? But I think with the mink, I like the mink because that puts me with the Weasleys.
What is it? Is it kind of like a ferret kind of looking creature?
You know when Fred gets called Rodent in Potterwatch?
Kind
in the books. I'm also a rodent, I think. Pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like a ferrety sort of thing. Mink does.
And you used to be Hufflepuff, didn't you? But now you're
Yes, but I must confess I tried to sort of manipulate it so that I could get into Gryffindor and manipulated it and ended up in Hufflepuff and then lost all my details or how to get on or something. So took it again and I thought, right, this time, be honest. I was honest and I'm Gryffindor.
There you go. I do think it suits you.
Yeah, I suppose I do, but I definitely have Hufflepuff tendencies as well.
Well, it's like me and Lucy said in the first episode, everyone has everything in them, I guess.
Actually, this just reminds me, a couple of days ago I did that, there's the quiz where it has all the original Pottermore questions that were, you can do all of them.
Yeah.
And I did that and I got 27% Ravenclaw, 25% Hufflepuff, 25% Slytherin and 23% Gryffindor.
Wow.
So it wasn't much help.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to do it. I thought I was 100% honest the second time.
Yeah.
I'm sticking with that.
Stick with that. I think that's a good call.
Yeah. I can't remember what I got. I think I'm just a massive Hufflepuff. I got mostly Hufflepuff and then about equal the rest. I think a little bit more Gryffindor. I don't know.
All right, well, thank you, Diana. Today, that feels very formal, but today we'll be talking about Best Boy Draco Malfoy. But before, let's have our questions from the Sorting Hat. Today I will be asking the Harry Potter question and Elizabeth's will just be a random one.
Okay. I need to go and get my jar of questions. I forgot it.
Okay, I need to load up my document actually. So,
do you want to pick
yellow one?
Go for it.
Would you rather both be very poor but live next door to each other, or both be very? I read that really badly. Would you rather both be very poor but live next door to each other, or both be very rich but live a 4-hour drive from each other?
I guess you can answer this for Dawn because she's your best friend. So there you go. So I don't know.
So I would say immediately it depends what age you are. My best friend, we spent most of our childhood and teenage
best friends,
3 days, three doors from each other, which was fantastic. Yeah. But now it doesn't really. It
And I
doesn't
guess
bother me.
like you don't really have just one amazingly strong friend anymore, because you've got so many strong friendships now. Now that
I do
it's established with them all.
I talk to Dawn most on the phone. Probably
Yeah.
see Abby most.
Yeah.
But then obviously I'm still in touch with Linda. But
Yeah.
What about you two?
Oh gosh.
To be honest,
was really hard
I
for me.
don't want to sound so cold-hearted,
No.
but I know, and maybe it's the Slytherin in me, I immediately know my answer.
Okay, go for
It's
it.
definitely be really rich and live for away. Because the
Well, if
thing I
you're
thought
rich,
immediately,
you can have like a private
you can have like a private jet.
helicopter. Yeah.
Exactly. You just nip over.
That's what I
So-
thought, and I was like, if I chose that, then I would actually be giving Lucy the gift of lots of money, as well as myself.
Exactly. And also I feel like for us it's different because the point where we saw each other the most, we still only saw each other once a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're
So
not
it's
used
not
to being
like-
next door to each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah,
anymore,
Yeah,
are
exactly.
So
So
I did really enjoy our sleepovers.
yeah.
Those are really nice. But I guess it's nice because it's a novelty.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
not saying that it wouldn't be nice if we had it all the time. But I
Yeah.
think novelties are much nicer than like common
Mm.
things that happen all the time.
Mm. Otherwise I just get sick of you.
Rude.
Yeah, I think I'd rather be really, and then I'd also be really rich.
Yeah, we could go to the studio tour like 3
Yes,
times a year.
We could buy like
could
a
buy
full
one of those
Hogwarts robes for
houses.
each houses.
Sorry, I'm just putting myself in here as
Oh
well.
yeah,
buy
we
like
could live by
buy
the
one of the
studio
houses
tour.
near
houses
there.
near there, like
Yes.
Shell Cottage.
Yes,
Yeah,
Well, the one
and
that's
just
called Shell.
I would want to call it
you
the
can
borough.
probably get like a. You could probably get like an annual pass for the
I
studio
wonder if
tour.
they do annual
Oh,
They
passes.
must do. They must do.
That would be a real waste on their part to not do it, but
Yeah.
they do like really doctor the numbers, don't they? So it must be a bit
Hmm.
hard. Maybe you have to book it with the annual pass and type in your number or something.
I don't know.
You see, this is the side of myself that worked for
Sorry.
Merlin for a year. I have to think about these things. All right. Well, Lucy, what's your Harry Potter
Okay.
question?
Mine actually, I think this is actually quite a good one for Diana for you to be here for, because the question is, what song should be playing or what music should be playing in the model room at the studio tour? So let me give some context.
For the people listening.
At the Harry Potter studio tour, the kind of pretty much the last room in the
Yeah.
tour is the huge Hogwarts model, which I have mentioned before actually when we did our first episode on Hogwarts. And it's the scale model, and it's pretty huge. And you walk in, and it's
quite
just this model. You can
emotional.
walk around it. It's really, really emotional.
Yeah.
And the music they have playing currently,
It's
and the
Harry
music
in
that's always
Winter.
playing
Yeah.
is
On
Harry in
loop.
Winter. That's all there is.
Oh, and normal
which for most people,
just, yeah.
you can just, it's about 3 minutes long, I think. So yeah, that covers you. You do a lap of the castle and then you go to the gift shop. But we spend usually
A good like half an
Hours.
hour.
just
minimum.
sat looking at, yeah. So
Because we just don't want to leave. Like usually in the studio tour, they make it so that you don't really want to go back, especially in that bit because you've got all the paper models, which is quite
Yeah.
like narrow corridors.
yeah,
It's quite narrow corridors, so
it's kind of
like,
one way.
Yeah, so you don't really want to go back.
So what were you thinking then, Lucy?
I am a firm believer in leaving Hogwarts, where
Oh, I
it's the song that
can't.
plays when they are leaving Hogwarts, and out on the train it goes do 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 do.
Oh, yes.
Do, do,
Yeah.
do, 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 do,
I think that's also on Nimbus 2000, the track Nimbus 2000.
Is that the one that's
Yeah.
played in Chamber of Secrets when you see them leaving?
I think
Yes.
so.
And it always makes
Yes.
me feel so
Yes, yes,
shut
yes.
out.
Yeah.
I was thinking, but they're all there in the Great Hall and
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
I love that one.
I mean, I think you both know what I'm going to say. The recorder one, Window to the Past.
Yeah,
Oh,
I love that. I love
yeah.
that. But also
Because you've got
in
the bridge scene. The bridge
Yeah,
is
you
right
have.
there.
but if they want to do sort of sadder bits and when they make it nighttime in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, there is the most beautiful.
Oh, the singing one?
It's they're
Was that in
you
the
can't kind of call it singing,
Oh,
but there are voices and they sing in Latin. Yes,
Yeah, and it's when you see
absolutely
there's
love
that. I think it's actually a deleted scene, but you see
I
that
think it's
close
called
up of Snape's face.
Yeah,
And,
that's
Yeah,
his
is it
and
called
yeah.
In Noctem or
It's
something?
called In Noctem,
Something.
yeah.
Oh,
But it's
it's
mostly in
just
English, actually.
beautiful.
It's funny you say it's in
Oh, is it?
Latin.
Maybe it's just because I tended to put it on when I was going to sleep, because I've got all the soundtrack
Yeah.
CDs, and you know, I would sort of time it.
I used to work in a music shop, and I got the Harry Potter like bumper piano book. I got it for you as well, Lucy. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Even though you can't play piano at
can't
all.
play
But it's just got nice pictures. I thought maybe Gideon would be interested because
Yeah,
your dad, he plays piano a bit. But anyway, the lyrics are all in there. So it's
okay.
quite interesting. Yeah. Well, those are all good answers.
I think actually what you'd said about like at night having, I like the idea of, because again, a bit more context, the lighting kind of shifts to different times of day. So to have a
get,
song
like,
for
the
day, a
flickering
song
of the
for
torches and stuff.
Yeah.
They could merge it in and sort
Do
of do
like
a bit of a
firework and
montage.
Dumbledore's army for
Yeah.
night and
Yeah.
day, sorry, and in Noctem for night.
Yeah, they could do all sorts.
Yeah.
Yeah. They could really do a lot of interesting things. I think it's just because normal people just look around and then go.
I spend about 10 minutes, I don't think I've ever spent less than 40 minutes in there.
Yeah. I wonder why Harry in Winter is the one.
Because
It is
it's
quite
builds and
emotive.
it's in your heart, and
It comes on.
that's a really bad description. It's in your heart.
They play it on Scala and Classic FM when they do it, when they're having request shows quite a lot.
Yeah.
It's either Hedwig's theme or Harry's Wonderful World. And sometimes I'm shouting at the radio.
Harry in Winter.
Harry in Winter. But sometimes I'm shouting at the radio, there are other tunes!
Yeah.
Play something different!
Yeah.
I mean, they are beautiful, but you know, you can get beauty sickness, can't you?
Yeah, I do agree. Yeah. Especially with Hedwig's theme. I like Hedwig's theme, but it's so overplayed.
Yeah, we'll write a strongly worded email to the studio tour.
Dear Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Instead of Dear Joe.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get talking about Draco Malfoy.
Nice.
So, first of all, how do we all feel about Draco Malfoy? Shall I go first? Because I've got
go
a
on.
massive paragraph
You sound
written,
like you have some thoughts.
emotionally written.
Mine will be quite short.
So I really like Draco, but not because he's a likeable character, but just because he develops so much during and after the 6th book, when he realises he can't kill Dumbledore, and he's like getting more and more stressed during the book. I think you see it a lot more in the film, I think, because obviously
you see him literally falling apart.
Yeah, I think because the book is in Harry's point of view.
Right.
Yeah, and I just think it must be really painful to realise, even if you've been taught really bad things, that those things just a complete lie, and everything you've known is just not true, you know. But I'm really impressed because of that he actually did realise that it wasn't great, and he did try and change a little bit. I don't think he changed a lot, but he married, as we will say in the later bits, he married purposefully to get away from all of that, a person that doesn't like the pure blood mantra, you know, of pure blood is better, etc. So yeah, I think he's just an interesting character because he's got so many aspects of his personality. Yeah.
Who's going next? I don't want to I have this horror of butting into
it's
you.
All right. You seem like you've got a lot to say. You should
I haven't got a lot to. I
just
am
don't
not
like
keen on
Draco.
Draco. I think the only times
He's
I
not a
like
likeable
Draco is because
character.
Tom Felton plays him so well, and I like Tom Felton, and he
Yeah.
makes me laugh. But
That's
you know,
true.
and I'm just rereading the Harry Potters again, and I'm now in the Deathly Hallows, so I've just read Half-Blood Prince, and he is just he reminds me of some kids that I knew at school, and he is just a thoroughly unpleasant, ill-mannered, selfish, thoughtless little oik. And I'd just like to punch him on the nose.
Well, that's why I find him interesting, because he was so far that way, and then he just kind of brings himself up to neutral.
I can feel sorry for him knowing his background.
Yeah.
But if I think of the kids at school that I knew that were bullies and were not nice and what have you, I didn't know their background, so I didn't judge them on that.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to sort of judge Draco as if I knew him at school.
Yeah.
And I think he was flipping horrible. I just thought he was foul.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I read the books when I was very young, so I guess my first impression of all the characters was very shallow, I guess, very two-dimensional, kind of surface level.
It's how J.K. Rowling wants you to feel about
Right. Right, like I don't know, I guess like Harry hated him, so I hated him. I will say at the moment the Harry Potter fandom, particularly on TikTok, is obsessed with Draco Malfoy.
He said.
Yeah, it's a bit
it
crazy.
Goes in like leaps. What is it? Fits
Phases.
and starts.
Oh yeah.
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 I think people really have I was about to say Malfoy about Malfoy. No, Marmite feeling about Malfoy.
Yeah, I think of all the kind of villain-ish, unlikable characters, he's the one who
is most likable.
Yeah, or the one who deserves redemption the most. Like when people hate Draco and love Snape, it really confuses me because
that makes me
the just doesn't make me.
Snape
when they're like,
is
oh
an
yeah,
adult.
he doesn't.
He should know better.
But
sorry,
we'll save that for
talk.
But yeah,
talk about Snape.
Yeah, I don't mind Draco
either way, really.
Yeah, and I like that in the film they give him a bit more space to kind of redeem himself, like the deleted scene where he throws Harry his wand.
Yeah. I don't like it, but I like that they gave it some thought.
Hold on, what's this?
Oh, have you
I've
not seen
that?
So there's a deleted scene where it's in the Battle of Hogwarts. It's a bit of a silly scene in my opinion, because I don't think Draco would do it at all, and it's so far out of canon. But I don't mind things being out of canon, but this is just way beyond canon. The canon is a duck to you. Sorry, that's a Friends reference, and neither of you will get it. So it's when Hagrid is like bringing Harry back, and it's just after Harry like leaps up and, you know, basically by doing so announces that he's alive.
Okay.
And Draco, having gone over to his parents, runs up to him and goes, "Potter!" and throws him his wand. Or does he say Harry? I think he says Harry. And
no, he says
him...
Potter.
Oh, okay.
Not a chance.
Exactly.
So does anybody know why David
Nobody knows why
left that out?
Oh, because it didn't fit.
It's not actually. It was improvised. Tom Felton improvised it on the day.
Really?
So I guess that was partially. As far as I'm aware,
clearly coming from Tom Felton's heart.
Yeah, I guess most actors want to give their character some kind of.
They have a soft spot for their character.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe,
otherwise, they won't play them well.
But...
Well, no, but I think that's part of playing a character well is believing that your character is a good person.
I guess so.
I can see where that could come in though, because I've just read the bit in Deathly Hallows where Harry says that Draco's wand feels quite friendly in his hand and works for him at least as well as Hermione's does.
Oh,
it actually says that in there.
There you go.
So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why Tom Felton.
Yeah, he probably read it before. And
yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so I'm going to now take us to our timeline of Draco, which is going to be the main part of this episode. This is taken directly and indirectly from the Wizarding World website, so I've chopped and changed little bits, but the main gist is still there. We're just going to kind of read it out, and we're going to say our comments, what we feel like, etc., etc. So it's basically key parts. How I read it on the Wizarding World website, it's basically Harry Potter in Draco's perspective.
Right.
So it really tells you a lot about his character.
Oh, you mean the story? In Draco's perspective.
So Okay, so I did a bit of research about his birthday and his name as well. So he was born on the 5th of June 1980. That makes him a Gemini, which is the twin sign, which I was immediately like, that's interesting because the twin sign, it means that you have two
Duality.
personalities, dual personality, which is very Draco.
I think also wizard astrology in my mind is like real.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously
in the
would
wizarding
argue
world.
it's real in the, Muggle world, but I think astrology and
it's like a
in terms of
serious,
magic
it's
is
taken seriously, isn't it, in their
You
world?
mean yeah. So
I think it's
definitely
more taken as a kind of science in the
Fact.
wizarding world.
Yeah.
Whereas here, some people do and some people don't.
I bet McGonagall would disagree with you, but go on.
Yeah, probably, yeah. So obviously, he was born in 1980, which a lot of people were. So this won't mean a lot, but his Chinese zodiac sign is the monkey, which means he's smart, sharp, and curious, which I do think fits Draco quite well, actually. Maybe not the curious.
Yeah.
I was just going to say.
Yeah, but smart and sharp. But obviously...
Too self-satisfied to be curious about much.
Yeah, that's true. I think, but obviously that's the year 1980 is
they were all mostly born in 1980.
Yeah. So, and he was christened Draco Lucius Malfoy. Draco means dragon, but I thought that was it. But really, a lot of the people in Narcissa's family are all basically all named after constellations.
Like
and
Sirius and
exactly,
Andromeda.
Andromeda.
Although Narcissa's not, is she? Because that's a flower.
I think
Narcissus. Is that also a constellation? You carry on, I'll look
it
up.
up. Yeah. So the constellation for Draco is constantly argued whether it's a dragon or a huge serpent, which again I thought was interesting because it's like Draco battling between himself and what he wants to do and Voldemort and what Voldemort wants to do. So I thought that was
that's
cool.
really interesting.
No, it's what I thought. It's from the flower and it's from Greek mythology about the man who drowned because he fell in love with his own reflection in a pool of water.
Oh dear.
Oh
yeah, okay. That rings a bell.
But she married into the Malfoys anyway. Oh,
I thought
she was part of the Blacks. Yeah.
Weird. Oh well.
Yeah. Just ignore me, I'll go away.
No, that's interesting. It's interesting. So I didn't think Malfoy meant anything, but Mal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Mal actually derives from Old French, which means bad or evil, and foy means faith or trust. So Malfoy literally means bad faith or evil faith or bad trust or evil trust.
Basically, horrible little oik.
Yeah, horrible person. But I thought as well it was interesting that one part of his name was bad and one part of his name was good. If you group those things together, it's like bad and
you have to remember as well, though, that
trust.
Malfoy is the family more than the
that's true.
character.
Yeah.
What do you mean is good? The dragon bit?
No, like the first part is bad and the second
faith.
Part is faith,
Well, faith is kind of neutral, isn't it? Because it depends what you've got faith in.
True, that's very true.
You know.
You can have faith in Voldemort.
Faith in evil.
Yeah, that's very true. Which I think the Malfoys generally have, to be honest. So yeah, I thought that was all very interesting. Oh, and I also thought it was interesting that Mal is usually at the start of all the bad words, like malnutrition,
malaria.
Malaria. Yeah, I didn't think of
it means
that
bad
one.
air.
Oh really?
Yeah,
I didn't
that's
know
what it
that.
means.
Or Maleficent is a character who uses
malicious.
Bad. Yeah, another one. So I thought that was interesting. And his wand is unicorn hair.
So is mine in the middle.
Yeah.
And I don't like that I have this in common with Draco.
Well, unicorn hair is meant to be the most difficult one core to turn to the dark side.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And so it's generally seen as a really good core, but it does wither and die over time, so you need to get it replaced.
I'm getting old.
So you need to get it replaced
that's
frequently.
Good though, because although I think he's a horrible little oik, he never goes as far, and he just couldn't do it, could he?
Yeah.
And the wand chooses the wizard, so obviously that's his kind of.
So but the interesting thing, so a lot of a lot of characters have unicorn hair, but the interesting thing about his wand is that hawthorn is his wood, and no other Harry Potter character has hawthorn. No one.
Oh.
So the hawthorn thing in the Ollivander wood writing on that was really bad description on the Wizarding World
I've
website.
forgotten the word now. You've said that. In wand lore.
Yeah,
Wand
yeah,
lore.
in the Wand Lore section on the Wizarding World website. Thank
Laura
you.
L-O-R-E, I mean, not Laura as in government.
Is obviously specifically written for Draco. So here's, I've kind of taken bits of it because it's quite long. So it says the wand maker
Grigorovich.
Thank you. That wrote that Hawthorn makes a strange contradictory wand as full of paradoxes as the tree that gave it birth, whose leaves and blossoms heal, and yet whose cut branches smell of death. And then Ollivander wrote that Hawthorn wands may be particularly suited to healing magic, but they are also adept at curses. And I thought the healing part was very interesting because in the 6th one he uses the whole book, the whole year, to heal the Vanishing Cabinet.
Oh, very thoughtful. I like it.
It's not my own thought. I watched like tons of video essays on Draco because I'm a big Draco fan. So this is from.
Well,
the
you've
video
made
essay.
it yours. You
Thank
agree
you.
with it so much. You've made it yours.
I do. Okay, so now just on to his timeline, I guess. So he grew up as an only child to his parents Lucius Malfoy and Narcissa Malfoy. His home is in Wiltshire, which was passed down the generations for many centuries.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know how long.
Yeah, I know. That's what I thought as well.
You know, being an ancient wizarding family, one of
Yeah.
those sacred 28, is it?
Yeah, Sacred 28.
It would be nice to know. I always mix it up with rock stars dying when they're 27, but there you go.
Yeah. From the time when he could talk, it was made clear to him that he was triply special. Firstly, as a wizard. Secondly, as a pureblood, and thirdly, as a member of the Malfoy family. So I wrote a little comment here. I said, I wonder if this was meant to happen on Lucius and Narcissa's part, or whether they actually believed that they were the most important one. Because there is the Sacred 28, and I wonder if they all kind of see themselves as equal to those 28, or whether the Malfoys were so far up themselves that they saw themselves as above them. I don't know.
Probably like Animal Farm, they saw themselves as the first among equals. Some are more equal than others.
Yeah, I guess so.
They're obviously
I've
very
never
up
read
themselves.
Animal Farm. Yeah. Well, Narcissa's name says it all, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I like it when Harry says, you know, your mum looks like she's got a bad smell under her nose all the time.
Yeah.
I think Narcissa is my favourite of the Malfoys, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
She's very protective.
Yeah,
You know,
she really
Mother
holds
Lion
them together,
kind of-
doesn't she?
Speaking of, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I can't remember where I saw it, but basically someone was pointing out that a mother's love had saved Harry twice in the series.
Yes, I saw that the other day.
Because obviously Lily, and then Narcissa.
her with
But then, yeah, Narcissa
Wanting
saying
to
that
find
he was,
Draco.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So then it goes on to say Draco was raised in an atmosphere of regret that the Dark Lord had not succeeded in taking command of the wizarding community, although he was prudently reminded that such sentiments ought not to be expressed outside the small circle of family and their close friends, or, quote, Daddy might get into trouble. I quite like that. In childhood, Draco associated mainly with the pureblood children of his father's ex-Death Eater cronies.
That's interesting then, because it shows that if they taught him like that, then he was aware that this was a personal family attitude.
Yeah.
And you would think, to some
You're
degree,
literally teaching
he
that
could
it's wrong.
choose about that and think,
Yeah.
well, is my family right if he's... I don't know.
Yeah,
It's difficult,
I don't know.
isn't it?
I guess it's almost a bit culty, isn't it?
Yeah,
The
well,
kind of
yeah.
pure blood, like 28
Death Eaters is a
families. It's
cult.
like, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It just
It's
is.
like you don't, yeah.
I mean,
But
they
then I guess in
threaten
this
death
case-
if you leave.
Mm,
So
yeah.
I mean, you can't get more culty than that, can you? Yeah. Sorry, I
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
interesting.
cut over you speaking there. Yeah, but yeah, that's literally what I wrote. I said they literally taught him that the society thought of his father as bad. So what was he meant to think? Like, anyway, and I said as well, it's a very conflicting message for such a young person to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we're amazing, but nobody else thinks so. So
Yeah.
don't say
Well, it
anything.
makes you wonder how they put it across.
Yeah, yeah.
I suppose they'd have to put it across in a, but you keep this quiet. Not everybody needs to know how marvellous we are.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And for some reason, I find it really funny to imagine Lucius and Narcissa to say a word like marvellous. I see it as a very Roald Dahl word, so it kind of seems wrong in my head.
I wonder how they got together. I wonder if
I know.
I wonder if these
I think it was
28
probably
if there were some
arranged
almost
marriage.
arranged
Yeah.
marriages.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think so.
It says, Draco, of course, grew up knowing about the boy who lived, but from a slightly different perspective to other wizards. His father subscribed wholeheartedly to the theory that Harry was a very dark wizard, and that's how he defeated Voldemort.
Oh.
Did you not know that?
Yeah, well, I did read it a few days ago, but that was the first time I'd read it and I forgot again. I don't know, it's an odd thought.
Yeah, it is an odd thought, isn't it, that Harry's this evil genius from the age of 18 months, I might add.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people were hedging their bets and wondering if this child was going to grow up to be a really powerful dark wizard,
True.
but I hadn't thought of it sort of quite like that Harry was.
Because it's interesting, because Voldemort wasn't even, like, he was a very horrible child, but at 18 months I don't think he would have been,
Well, I
you
don't
don't even
know.
have
Mrs.
thoughts.
Cole said at the orphanage that he was a funny baby, wasn't he?
Oh,
Hardly
that's
ever
true.
cried. And she didn't say it as if that was a positive thing. She said it as
Like
if
a
it was a
sinister
really
thing.
sinister, really odd thing.
That's
Why
true.
didn't this child ever cry?
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
They said, it was comforting to think that he, Lucius, might be in for a second chance of world domination should this Potter boy prove to be another and greater pureblood champion. And I said, that is so cowardly. Why didn't he take matters into his own hands, like in a Harry Potter sequel? And he's like, and if we can't move forward, why shouldn't we move back? Such a good song. But yeah, I think the Lucius in the Harry Potter sequel is way braver than the Lucius in Harry Potter.
Well, it almost makes him sound like Professor Slughorn, doesn't it? When Harry says that he thinks of a big spider twitching his web, to do things. That's basically what Lucius is wanting. He was wanting to be one of the smaller spiders. Yeah,
the
but
big
he's
spider's
still
command.
He sort of
It reminds me
he
of
wanted to be second
Wormtail.
spider, didn't he? He wanted all the power, but not necessarily all of the responsibility.
Yeah.
Or the protection.
Yeah, it reminds
The
me of
security.
Wormtail in a way.
Yeah.
This is why Draco offered Harry friendship. He hoped to bring his father home some interesting information.
Read it very badly.
I know.
I can help you there, Potter.
It's like, it so reminds me of the bit in a Harry Potter musical, and he's like, I am a racist, and my parents
I hate mudbloods.
work for I hate mudbloods, and my parents work for the man who killed your parents. Would you like to be my friend?
Yeah.
So this Draco, seeing that Harry had formed a friendship with a Weasley, rightly came to the conclusion that the hopes of a new, better Voldemort were completely unfounded.
And that, I'm sorry, but that flies in the face of his Chinese horoscope saying that he's sharp, because he should have seen straight away that if Harry was sitting there being friendly with Ronald Weasley, well, maybe he didn't. No, it happens differently in the book and the film, doesn't it? And in the book, he sees Harry and Madame Malkin's, and then
he doesn't know that it's Harry.
He doesn't see him. Oh no, he does. He sees him on the train. With Ron.
Yeah, they have a fight.
And he's like, you should be sitting with.
So you would think that he would think,
But
he's sitting there speaking friendly to this Weasley. I better be careful how I speak to him.
He would think that he's kind of like helping him out, being like, oh, like Potter, let me help you. You don't want to be making friends with this kid. He's a
redhead.
blood traitor.
Yeah,
I love red hair.
Maybe he, well, because you've got to think as well of how of how Lucius must talk about the Weasleys, because they're big blood traitor families. Like everyone talks about how awful the Weasleys are in the Sacred 28. I imagine.
Yeah.
But I love the way they wear that like a badge of honour.
Yeah, me
We're
too.
the biggest blood traitor family there is.
Yeah, me too. I like it, but it must be quite jarring for a family like the Malfoys, who take their purebloodness as like.
They must find the Weasleys a real anomaly. Just can't understand them
well,
at all.
exactly. Yeah, and so Draco might have been thinking, well, Harry might not know that this is a blood traitor family.
Right, that's what I mean.
Because Draco doesn't know that Harry's a half-blood, does he? Or I'm not sure if
I assume everyone
it's common
knows.
knowledge, is it?
Well, yeah,
I guess.
Surely. Maybe not common knowledge, but kind of.
I guess
Yeah,
so.
Lucius and Snape were friends, so I would imagine that.
Yeah.
Although Snape kept his feelings for Lucy kept his feelings for Lily really, really quiet, didn't he? He
did, apart from telling Dumbledore.
And what was the difference? Oh no, never mind, carry on.
What are you going to ask?
I was just going to say, how many years difference was there at Hogwarts between Lucius and Snape and James and Sirius?
So
Lucius was about 3 years.
Lucius, Molly and Arthur were all in the same year, and they were about 3 years.
Really? Because Molly and Arthur were 10 years before the Potters and Sirius.
Oh, maybe I'm getting it
I
wrong.
thought Lucius was closer in age.
Hold on. Lucius Malfoy.
Sorry if I've taken you off at a tangent.
No. So Lucius Malfoy, remember this, was born in 1954. Molly...
He's about 4 years younger than Molly and Arthur then.
Molly and Arthur would have had Bill about the same age that James and Lily had Harry, probably.
Wait.
It's probably like 10 years older. Right?
She wasn't born
So they would have had to have
I see what you mean.
Or 6 kids.
Yes. I was working all this out the other day. I was going through the Weasley, as I do. I was going through the Weasley family's ages.
1949, Molly Weasley.
Yeah, Molly was slightly older than Arthur. Not much. They're in the same year. So what year was, did you say Lucius was born? 54.
Yeah.
So he's 4 or 5 years younger than Molly and Arthur.
I don't know. I'm really bad with math.
Well, if she's born in 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54. So he's about 5 years younger.
Okay, yeah.
So that makes him almost smack between Molly and Arthur here, Lucius goes to Hogwarts here, and then Sirius, James and Snape and Lily go here.
I always forget how young Snape is, because no disrespect to Alan, but he's a lot older than he should be.
He was actually, I was going to say he was good casting when the books were written, but he wasn't really the right age even then.
They're all way older, those that play Harry's mum and dad.
He should have been about 30, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that really bugs me when
the
when you see Lily and James, because they're supposed to be 20.
They should have been 21 when they died.
All right.
Which makes that Molly and Arthur are only about 31, 32.
Yeah.
Right, we're going off tangent.
It's interesting though.
No, it is interesting. It is interesting. Oh, okay, sorry, I lost my place. Draco used the example of the most impressive person he knew, his father, as the basis of how to behave at school. He was contemptuous and cold to anyone out of his inner circle. And I commented, I wonder if Draco would have been more or less popular than Harry had he been in Harry's position, if he still had the same kind of personality that he has in the story.
No, surely not.
Because he's quite popular with the pureblood Slytherins, though.
Yeah, but he wouldn't have been popular with anyone else, would he?
Yeah.
I
feel
guess
like that's quite a Slytherin.
If he was the boy who lived, though.
But there's a difference between popular in terms of, that popular and well liked, I guess, because Harry is well liked. Everyone quite likes him.
Yeah.
I guess
he's on the Quidditch team and.
Maybe Draco would have been popular in the way that people would have just sucked up to him and been sycophantic.
Yeah. A Voldemort kind of popularity.
Yeah.
Right. Although Voldemort was very likeable.
Could you imagine all the Gryffindors and the Hufflepuffs putting up with his insufferable arrogance?
True, yeah. That's true. Interesting. So Draco's feelings for Harry were always based in a great part on envy, unsurprisingly. Though he never sought fame, Harry was unquestionably the most talked about and admired person at school.
Except when he lost them points.
Yeah. Well, but then he was still the most talked about,
Yeah,
but in a negative
but not
way.
the most admired.
Yeah. And this naturally jarred with a boy who had been brought up to believe that he occupied an almost royal position within the wizarding community. What was more, Harry was the most talented at flying, the one skill at which Malfoy had been confident he would outshine all the other first years. The fact that the potions master Snape had a soft spot for Malfoy and despised Harry was only slight compensation. And I'd like to point out the bit in the book here where Madam Hooch points out to Malfoy that he's been holding his broom the wrong way for years. It's so satisfying.
And can we also say the bit in the film when Malfoy takes off Neville's Remembrall and goes to fly, he stands on the bushy bit of his broom and sort of leans on it.
I quite like it. I find it quite cool. You know?
It's quite
ridiculous.
arrogant,
I think
isn't
if
it?
you flew off like that, you'd fall off it.
But I like what, it's like, look, Lucy said it's quite an arrogant way of doing it,
Yeah,
Obviously
it's like,
very,
look, I can
very
stand
confident.
on it.
Yeah.
I can recline
Very
on my
confident.
broom.
Yeah.
I did put as well here, it's funny how so many people are jealous of Harry for having fame and money. I wonder what they would think if they were in his shoes. And I said Draco certainly seemed to sing a different tune when he found out how merciless his precious Dark Lord really is. It's always different when you think about. I doubt Draco knew that Harry, for example, was being abused by the Dursleys. He probably thought that Harry was being worshipped at home.
Yeah.
As he is at school. So. Yeah, and it's as Harry said, I am famous for my parents dying. Who wants to be famous for that?
Well, partly, yeah. Part of the fact that he
that's
survived
how he
the killing
sees
curse.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other comments? Sorry, I'm dominating that.
And I'm so loud, so you must just come in.
Yeah. Just wave. You've got two Humphreys women here.
Yeah, just shout, shut up.
So Draco then resorted to dirty tactics in order to get more recognition than Harry, or to get more people to dislike Harry. And I said, sorry, but this is quite Slytherin of him, it's really showcasing the trait of I'll do anything to get what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is often very good, but sometimes not very good.
Yeah.
Because it always backfires, doesn't it? If you try and get people to like you by making
Forcing
them dislike other
Somebody
people,
else,
Yeah.
it's going to backfire at some
That's
point
true.
because there's no substance
Yeah.
in the person doing that, is there?
Yeah. You don't sell yourself at
No,
the
you
same
don't.
time.
In fact, once the person realises, you just show yourself up as being a bit of a waste of space.
Yeah, it's like imagine doing that in a job interview, saying, oh, I'm all right, but this other person is terrible, and you shouldn't go for them.
Yeah.
Okay, so it goes on to say, don't know why I said it like that.
Go on to say. Hoo-hoo.
It's like I've sucked a lemon or something. During the events of Goblet of Fire, while many people thought that Harry Potter, who had witnessed the Dark Lord's rebirth, was a liar or a fantasist, Draco Malfoy was one of the few who knew that Harry was telling the truth. His own father had felt his dark mark burn and had flown to rejoin the Dark Lord, witnessing Harry and Voldemort's graveyard duel, and these events were discussed at Malfoy Manor.
I never thought about that.
Me neither.
No, nor me.
That's crazy.
And I've never
Yeah.
have been able to keep quiet. I have to just, if something's in my head, I have to talk
But
about
this
it.
is his father's precious reputation that he has to
Yeah, I
uphold.
suppose.
Yeah. I thought as well how ironic that most of most of Harry's allies, that's when they just didn't believe him at all. But most of his enemies, I guess it feels weird to say teenagers as enemies, or sorry, Lucy, young people, as enemies.
Can I just say here, I was one of those horrible teenagers, so there are some. You two were nice. Well, you still are. You're still a teenager.
Well, that's what
aren't
you think, Diana.
Oh.
She could be a terror at school. Although I couldn't ever imagine it.
No, nor me.
Yeah, I thought how interesting it is that most of his enemies at school were actually the ones that were probably on his side. They were like, well, yeah. My dad was there. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose I would have kept that quiet, wouldn't I, if I was, sort of Draco, but
You'd be scared.
it must have nearly
You would
killed
be
him.
scared, yeah.
I don't know. Oh, gosh. Yeah, what a situation. I'll have to think about that.
Yeah. On one hand, Draco was thrilled that Voldemort was back because it meant that his father's glory days were finally back. On the other hand, Draco's envy grew even more with the knowledge that Harry had once again evaded Voldemort. Harry was discussed seriously as an adversary between the Death Eaters, whereas he, Draco, was still being relegated to the status of schoolboy. I said again, I wonder if he ever realises how weird this envy is. Like, I was like, envious of what? Like, being an enemy to some of the most dangerous people alive. Like, I think I'd rather be a schoolboy, thanks.
Well, it just shows that he doesn't think things through, does he? He doesn't think things through.
He's a child.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't blame him.
He's
for
14 years old.
that. Even I do.
He's 3 years younger than Lucy is now.
Yeah. And I certainly didn't think things
Isn't
through.
that
Still
weird?
don't half the time.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, you know.
It's
when Harry-
no, it's really actually going into my last year of school. It's really freaking me out how
I know,
because I'd
Harry
said a
literally
while ago.
defeated Voldemort.
Yeah,
when
I'd said a while ago
your
how I
age.
wanted to read the book where they're going into Hogwarts with the corresponding year, and I was like, oh wait, there is none. This is where they go camping, searching for Horcruxes, and then fight evil wizards, and like a bunch of them die. Like,
Yeah.
and they were my age, and that's
Yeah.
really. I feel like it's reading the books. They're a lot more impactful in some ways because I am realizing how young they all were. Because when I was 8, them being 17 was like, oh yeah, they're like super grown up.
Yeah.
But now I am 17. It's terrifying.
It's like they were so young.
Yeah, they were kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. So now we'll hand over to my mum.
So Draco cheered himself up by imagining Voldemort's triumph. Sorry, can I just say, some people pronounce Voldemort with the T and some without. In the French it would be without, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it really
Voldemort.
makes me feel funny when people say Voldemort.
Yeah,
even
it's
though that
just
is how
odd,
it
isn't
should
it?
be
Yeah,
pronounced.
it's how it should be
So,
pronounced.
anyway, he cheered himself up by imagining Voldemort's triumph, seeing his family honoured under a new regime, and he himself fated at Hogwarts as the important and impressive son of Voldemort's second in command.
Yeah, I'm heavily reminded here of the version of Malfoy portrayed in a Harry Potter musical, you know, when he like comes in and he's like, all hail Lord Voldemort, you know, and he's like got his like swagger on, and they're like, oh, shut up, Malfoy, and he's like, oh, just you wait.
He must have really, I don't know, he must have really wanted that.
Yeah.
School life took an upturn in Draco's 5th year, butt in if you want to.
Yeah.
Although forbidden to discuss at Hogwarts what he had heard at home, Draco took pleasure in petty triumphs. He was a prefect and Harry was not. And Dolores Umbridge, the new Defence Against the Dark Arts teacher, seemed to loathe Harry quite as much as Draco did.
I thought as well that that's probably why Draco took so many points from Harry, because he wanted to feel superior to him in some way.
I just always imagine Ernie Macmillan's face when he said, you can't take points from a prefect and what have you, and the rest of them go, look at the jars with the rubies and what have you, and then the emeralds and what have you, and the points do go, and Ernie Macmillan is pop, pop, pop.
Yeah.
Just can't believe it.
Yeah.
Draco became a member of Dolores Umbridge's inquisitorial squad and made it his business to try and discover what Harry and a gang of disparate students were up to as they formed and trained in secret as the forbidden organisation Dumbledore's Army.
Oh, such a good bit. Sorry.
It
I
is,
can
it
hear
is.
the music.
Oh,
So
that.
good.
However, at the very moment of triumph when Draco had cornered Harry and his comrades, and when it seemed that Harry must be expelled by Umbridge, Harry slipped through his fingers. I just love that.
You're much better at reading these aloud than we are.
Oh, it's okay.
Sorry, Lucy.
Worse still,
Sorry
Harry-
to lump you in there.
Harry managed to thwart
I thought I
Lucius
was all right.
Malfoy's attempt to kill him, and Draco's father was captured and sent to Azkaban. Dun dun dun.
You are good at reading them, Lucy.
I'm awful at reading aloud. Anyway,
Sometimes I just stutter.
Yeah, I think as well here, like Draco experiences a lot of second-hand like hero effect from Harry at the end of fifth year. I feel quite sorry for him. Like, here's Harry like being helped so much with plot armor, and then Draco is just like, well, you know, you're just the non-enemy, you know.
What cracks me up is that, isn't it? It's at least 2, possibly 3 years running that Draco, Crabbe, and Goyle end up like slugs being shoved into the luggage compartment because they've tried to have a go. And Harry and his friends and Dumbledore's army have just cursed them into oblivion.
Yeah, on the Hogwarts Express was that. Yeah.
So Draco's world now began to fall apart. He and his mother were outcasts in their community. His father was a failure. And doesn't he show it in the films?
Yeah, I love... Oh my gosh. J.C. Eisens does a really good job.
You did my thing there.
I always...
sorry. I could never say it. I always said Jason Eisens. I just could not do... Let me think. Jason Isaacs.
I just call him J.C. Eisens automatically now. I think I probably Googled it by accident as well. Sorry, yeah.
But yeah, he looks so dishevelled and also he's got his kind of stubble and
like, I don't know whether you, Lucy, watched the thing of all of the Draco scenes, but in the one where he's trying to he identifies Harry, but he's trying to like keep it secret that he knows that it's Harry, and Lucius comes up behind him and he has his bottle of his glass of wine and he has bags and he's like, come on, Draco, you know, he's really creepy.
He's like, this could be the end, this could be it.
Oh dear.
That's his way out. And imagine I feel like Draco is quite brave in that moment, realising how much is resting on him just saying, yes, that's Harry, like almost freeing his family.
Yeah,
I wonder if it was like Draco kind of asserting his I guess agency a bit here, like he's like, I can do this on my own, you know, I can make my own decision for a change. I mean, I think I'm giving him too much credit, but it's interesting to think about. Yeah, and he was in a horrible situation by that point. And he's like, if I hand Harry over,
that
he's going to die. I can't be the reason why somebody dies.
And he'd realised, you know, a few months before that Voldemort really, he just doesn't have any pity, does he?
Yeah.
He's not going to let anybody off the hook or whatever.
No.
So it says, now Draco had to actually take charge and be the man of the house, something he, a privileged and spoiled child, has never had to do before.
I thought how great this is, because so many spoiled, you know, and privileged children never actually get to have this point, and I think it's actually really useful for kids like that to have that kind of experience, I guess.
Well, I suppose, and for us, and for people like me who don't like Draco, it does show that he does have some redeemable qualities. I was about to say remedial qualities, redeemable qualities, because he can't do it in the end. He cannot bring himself to kill Dumbledore.
Yeah. So what you're suggesting is we should send private school kids' fathers to prison, and then we'll sort it.
I'm not saying sending their fathers to prison. What I am saying is, like, you know, give them a bit of responsibility.
Give them some responsibility.
Make them cook dinner once a week or something. You know, something. Make them fold their underwear. You know, treat them like a normal kid. Well, for them, that would be wow, wouldn't it?
You would never have folded your underwear neat enough to satisfy me.
But you know what I mean?
Bet you won't keep that in.
You watch. But you know, imagine that for Draco. It would be a really big shock to be able to even be forced to fold your socks, that would be like crazy. He'd be like, well, this is what Dobby does, you know.
But it's so interesting to see that at the beginning of this, you know, he agrees to take on this mission, and he's so gung-ho about it, and he's so arrogant and boastful, you know, on the train when Harry overhears him.
And it's kind of satisfying, really, to watch him and then, be taken down and down and down.
It doesn't work, does it?
Yeah.
So it says, worse was to come. Voldemort, seeking to punish Lucius Malfoy, still further. I'm trying to do it correctly. Seeking to punish Lucius Malfoy still further for the botched capture of Harry, demanded that Draco perform a task so difficult that he would almost certainly fail and pay with his life.
I mean, props to Narcissa here for completely knowing what Voldemort was up to from the start.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty obvious, but she was in that circle, so that's quite some...
Do you think Dumbledore and Snape knew that she would seek Snape's protection? It can't have done, really, could they?
No, I think Dumbledore probably was hoping that would probably be the case, but he probably had a backup plan with Snape.
Oh yeah, well he did, didn't he?
I guess so.
His own demise.
Yeah.
Draco was to murder Albus Dumbledore. How, Voldemort did not trouble to say. Draco was to be left to his own initiative, and Narcissa guessed correctly that her son was being set up to fail by a wizard, who was devoid of pity and could not tolerate failure.
So I said as well, this reminds me of a quote from Sirius Black. If you want to see the true measure of a man, watch how he treats his inferiors, not his equals. And I think this is particularly interesting for Voldemort, because he doesn't even treat his equals that well. He's just playing with the Malfoys at this point. He doesn't need them anymore, and could just as easily tell them to go away or kill them, but he continues to involve them simply for his own amusement.
But it's interesting that Sirius said that, because Sirius also didn't treat his inferiors well all the time.
Yeah.
In fact, not very often, not even when he was young.
No.
So we go on then. Furious at the world that seemed suddenly to have turned on his father, Draco accepted full membership of the Death Eaters and agreed to perform the murder Voldemort ordered. At this early stage, full of the desire for revenge and to return his father to Voldemort's favour, Draco barely comprehended what he was being asked to do. All he knew was that Dumbledore represented everything his imprisoned father disliked. Draco managed quite easily to convince himself that he too thought the world would be a better place without the Hogwarts headmaster, around whom opposition to Voldemort had always rallied.
Yeah, I like the use of the phrase "convince himself."
Yeah,
like no matter how easily he found it, he still had to convince himself.
Yeah.
And he'd always looked down his nose at things at Hogwarts, hadn't he?
Yeah.
Enthralled to the idea of himself as a real Death Eater, Draco set off for Hogwarts with a burning sense of purpose. Gradually, however, as he found that his task was much more difficult than he had anticipated, and after he had come close to accidentally killing 2 other people instead of Dumbledore, Draco's nerve began to fail. With the threat of harm to his family and himself hanging over him, he began to crumble under the pressure. The ideas that Draco had about himself and his place in the world were disintegrating. All his life he had idolised a father who advocated violence and was not afraid to use it himself, and now that his son discovered in himself a distaste for murder, he felt this to be a shameful failing. Even so, he could not free himself from his conditioning. He repeatedly refused the assistance of Severus Snape because he was afraid that Snape would attempt to steal his glory.
That is very Slytherin.
Yeah, it's interesting that the films don't really take that route. They kind of take the Draco soft boy route.
Yeah, although you do hear Draco say to Snape when Snape takes him out of Slughorn's party.
True. They kind of have
Draco says, "I know what you're doing. You want my glory."
That's true. Okay, never mind. Okay.
I wish I could say it was intentional for research purposes, but I was actually watching the 6th film last night just because I hadn't watched it in ages. But yeah, it's less prevalent, I guess, in the film, but there is that bit where because then Harry overhears him and is like talking to Lupin and talks to Mr. Weasley, and is like, he's a Death Eater and he's trying to kill Dumbledore, and Snape's trying to help him. Yeah.
And then none of them believe him.
It's an interesting bit, isn't it? And it must have been very frustrating for Harry because he felt he was right, and he was.
And he was right. It's so annoying.
But then also Lupin was right that by trusting Dumbledore, like Dumbledore knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, very frustrating from his end, I guess.
So the last bit here is Voldemort and Snape underestimated Draco. He proved an adept at occlumency, the magical art of repelling attempts to read the mind, which was essential for the undercover work he had undertaken. After 2 doomed attempts on Dumbledore's life, Draco succeeded in his ingenious plan to introduce a whole group of Death Eaters into Hogwarts, with the result that Dumbledore was indeed killed, though not by Draco's hand.
Dun, dun, dun.
But, you know, he did immeasurable damage. But his face, when you see them destroying the Great Hall, you know, when they go through.
And he goes, "I have to kill you. He's
Yeah.
gonna kill me."
And Dumbledore
he's
saying
so
that he was
good.
surprised that Draco let these people in where his friends are, that he let Fenrir
Yeah.
Grey back in.
But he knew that they wouldn't, like, he thought that they wouldn't harm his friends, because his friends are all part of the Sacred 28, so...
Oh yeah, that's
Again,
true.
he didn't think it through.
No, he didn't. He was panicking at that point, I think.
Yeah. Well, he was scared he was going to be killed,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah, so Draco couldn't bring himself to kill Dumbledore because of the kindness and pity that Dumbledore had showed him. I guess it's almost like he feels like he's not in his debt, but kind of like he's like, I can't kill someone this nice, basically.
Yeah. I think Dumbledore kind of, not meaning to, but put Draco in a really awkward situation where he like now owes someone his life, but I guess
Yeah.
Dumbledore was killed right after, so
Yeah.
it was only for about 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Snape lied to Voldemort about how Draco was lowering his wand and emphasised his skill in bringing the Death Eaters to Hogwarts. This is for all the Snape fans, I guess.
Yeah, I was just
It's
about
another
to say
thing
this makes me like Snape maybe 2% more. It's a very brave thing to do, to lie to Voldemort. But he's a very good occlumens.
If he would have lied if Draco hadn't also been a good occlumens. Because I doubt that Draco's occlumency was skilled enough to keep Voldemort out all the time.
True.
But it must have been reasonable enough, backed up by Snape.
I heard, I don't know whether this is canon, but I heard that he was trained by Bellatrix.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's in the book. Snape says on Bellatrix has been teaching you tricks or something. Yeah, it's in the book.
I did not know that.
That's interesting.
Lucius was freed, but the Malfoys were now the lowest ranking Death Eaters. They were weaklings and failures. Which is never a good thing.
Got what
It's
they
not too
deserve.
good, is it?
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's a bit mean. But they were mean, so.
True. Draco's personality was beginning to change, but he still had hopes for bringing his family back up in ranks. But his conscience was now awoken, and he had his awakening, if you will. And he even tried his best to save Harry by not identifying him when he was brought to Malfoy Manor.
It still amazes me that he does that.
And I don't think his personality changed. I think it just...
Well, as it says, his conscience was awoken.
Yes, his conscience was awoken, but I don't think his whole personality changed or anything. He probably doesn't even see it himself. Something is being shown from him that I don't think even he expected. I think
Something is.
don't you think that even he thought that he would be able to do this horrible deed, and he couldn't? So he's kind of revealing himself to himself as much as anything.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
What's the song you both singing?
Oh,
It's from
Wicked.
The weird thing is, I didn't realise what it was from when you sang it, but I still sang
Well,
it.
I mean, it's one of the most popular songs in Broadway now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lucy, Karen. I keep interrupting.
No, it's okay. Well, I'm saying that on Lucy's behalf, sorry.
Yeah. How dare you? During the Battle of Hogwarts, he made a last-ditch attempt at capturing Harry, renewing his parents' prestige and possibly saving their lives.
Probably.
Nice, okay.
Yeah. I think that was just his, like, right, this is my last chance now. It's now or never, do or die kind of thing. Literally.
Yeah.
But I mean, at what point Oh yeah, he makes the last-ditch attempt at capturing Harry when they're in the room of requirement, doesn't he?
Yeah. He sees Harry go in.
But he's still flipping horrible, isn't he? Because Ron says to him, "That's twice we've saved your life tonight."
Yeah, and then he says to Harry, "If we die trying to save him, Harry, I'll kill you."
I'll kill you. Yeah. I love Ron. Oh.
Me too.
It's my favourite.
Not mine, but I like him.
I love him.
Yeah.
Harry gal through and through. Sorry.
But then whether he would have brought himself to actually hand over Harry is another issue entirely. I suspect that, as with his attempted murder of Dumbledore, what's this a quote from?
From the Wizarding World website.
Right, okay. So whoever has written this article suspects that, as with his attempted murder of Dumbledore, he would again have found the reality of bringing about another person's death much more difficult in practice than in theory.
I think maybe J.K. Rowling did it. I think this was on the original Potterwatch.
Oh, I see.
But I'm not sure. Don't hold me to that.
So yeah. Wow.
Interesting commentary though. Really amazing insight.
Harry saves Draco's life, but I think this in my mind kind of mirrors James saving Snape's life.
Oh, true, yeah.
And Snape's feelings of always being in debt to him, and that's kind of why he hates him, even though in this case Draco kind of decides to accept Harry a bit, but
yeah,
I think this kind of, it's a similar sort of situation.
Yeah, I think James had way more spite towards Snape had way more spite towards James because James was his bully, whereas Draco was Harry's bully.
Right.
So Draco probably just feels kind of guilty and sorry for him, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lucius avoids prison by providing evidence against a bunch of the Death Eaters.
I didn't know that.
No, me neither.
I actually, that really surprises me that Lucius would sell his old mate.
Really?
Yeah, he just seems so... Well, he's
nice.
not the loyal. No, he's not the loyal type, is he? But he seems very... that's just such a big part of his personality is I'm a pureblood, I'm a part of this group.
That's true. I feel like in a way though he is always out to just save himself. Like he'll support whoever is the most powerful, whoever, like when Voldemort comes back, oh now he's supporting Voldemort, but when Voldemort's not around he's like keeping that a bit quiet and
that's true. Yeah, I forgot about that.
But that I think it is weird in terms of him wanting to be part of the group of the. But I guess if the 28 families all go to Azkaban, then
yeah, they're like the only people who have gotten out scot free, basically. And I guess he just takes his chance and he says, "Well, here's a bunch of names. I'm a good guy now."
Yeah, pretty much. Draco married the younger sister.
Azkaban. I doubt anyone would let those people out ever.
It's like when Sirius says to Wormtail something about how people thought about it. Was it to Wormtail?
Yeah, he was like, didn't you? You should have heard them talk about you.
Yeah, they weren't very pleased with you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of threatens Wormtail. It is.
Yeah. I was reading the third. Actually, I just finished reading the third book last night. So I can't decide whether I should start the fourth or the fifth.
Oh,
the fifth is my favourite.
Go to the fourth because the fourth is so good. You won't regret. You'll never get regret reading the fourth.
It's fine as long as you've got long enough fingers to hold it. I've got Umbridge fingers. I've got stubby little fingers.
Yeah. Oh, that was a really loud mouth click. Anyway, we see in 19 years later the epilogue that Draco marries the younger sister of a fellow Slytherin, Astoria Greengrass, who has gone through similar, though less violent and frightening, conversion from pure blood ideals to a more tolerant life view. She was felt by Narcissa and Lucius to be somewhat of a disappointment as a daughter-in-law. They had high hopes for a girl whose family featured in the Sacred 28, but as Astoria refused to raise their grandson Scorpius in the belief that Muggles were scum, family gatherings were often fraught with tension.
Oh, how awful of a story.
Astoria died during the summer of 2019 due to her blood curse.
What do they mean by blood curse?
What? Wait, this is new. This is new information to me.
Yeah, I was a bit stumped by
Let
this.
me see.
And did you know that Tom Felton went out with Jade Gordon, who played Astoria Greengrass?
Oh.
Who went out with?
He went out with the
Tom
actress
Felton.
Jade Gordon, who played Astoria
Oh
Greengrass.
yes, yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Looking at.
Yeah, I knew I'd looked at it before. When it was coming up, I thought, I'm sure I've read and I had.
Were they in a relationship pre?
I don't know. I was gonna.
The filming.
I don't think it was pre-filming.
Was she
I don't
in
think
the-
so.
Oh, you're talking about actual life.
Yeah.
I was talking about in Hogwarts. Like, was she in their year? Was she in a couple
No.
of years before?
Oh, because she was the
Hello?
younger sister of someone in Draco's year.
Oh, was she?
Is that what you're talking about? Astoria?
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, Draco Malfoy, who was 2 years ahead of her classmate of Daphne Greengrass, Astoria's older sister. Let's see.
This I'm interested in this blood curse thing.
Yeah, me too. Let's have a look. Are you looking at it as well? Oh, her name is derived from Greek meaning star maiden.
Ooh. That's interesting because of the Black family and obviously Draco all being stars.
Nagini's
Probably
maledictus thing was a blood curse.
Yeah, that's a blood curse.
But let's not talk about that right now.
Maybe Astoria is Crookshank. Doesn't say anything on the wiki yet.
Who was an ancestor of Daphne and Astoria Greengrass? Astoria Malfoy's ancestry.
Due to her blood curse, I can't think of.
We were capable
anything.
of having children, but this is supposed to be Draco speaking. We were capable of having children, but Astoria was frail. A blood malediction, a serious one. An ancestor was cursed. It showed up in her. You know how these things can resurface
An ancestor of
after
Nagini.
No, she can't be an ancestor of Nagini. She comes after Nagini. She could be a descendant.
Yeah,
But did Nagini have any children? And Astoria doesn't look remotely Asian, and I'm afraid what's the face does Nagini.
Well, to be fair,
say in the book that she's Asian, that she's not Asian. It just says that she's Astoria Greengrass. It doesn't say that she's not Asian. They just chose to portray her as that in the film. So she could be an ancestor of Nagini.
I think I completely forgot that Cursed Child existed and was canon. But yeah, okay. Now I remember something about her having a blood curse.
Child. Act 4, Scene 4.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Maybe I should reread Cursed Child, even though it...
Do you know, I'm just thinking that I don't want to.
I wish when I moved out, Mum asked me if I wanted Cursed Child, and I was like, no, throw it away. And I wish I hadn't actually, because I really want to read it again now.
I lent mine to Linda and Lester, and I didn't want it back.
It's the only Harry Potter book that I got at a midnight release, so even though it's blasphemy, it's quite special to me.
You're going with it.
Yeah. So now we've got some kind of timeline background of Draco. We're going to look more specifically at a kind of comparison between him in the books and him in the films. So firstly, we have physical appearance. In the books, Draco is described as a tall, slender boy with a pale, pointed face, sleek blonde hair, and ice grey eyes.
I think he looks perfect.
Yeah, I think the casting for Draco is pretty good, particularly as he gets older. Like, I feel like some of the actors were perfect when they were 10, but then kind of it went a bit weird.
Although in number 3 they were all great, but then in number 4 they were all just kind of
weird.
Number 4 they all went weird, didn't they?
3 was the best. I would say 3 was the best year in terms of
Yeah,
the characters.
yeah,
For sure.
definitely. Especially all their hair was so perfect, apart
Yeah,
from Hermione's, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, I liked it.
Ugh.
What? Wait.
You know,
I,
he
I
has
didn't
like
like
that kind of
Draco's
fringe.
hair hanging down in number 3. He looked like some kind of
Oh, I
white
liked it.
albino emo.
I quite liked it.
Sorry, I said white albino. I should have said one or the other.
Yeah.
How do you think he was portrayed, I guess, in the script? How do you think the script
writing.
writers... Yeah.
I read an interesting thing the other day about his clothes. You know, the way he was putting the... Or are you still on his physical appearance?
No, but go on.
Oh. Sorry.
No.
Into my mind. No, I think it was J.K. Rowling was saying something about how stylish Tom Felton was as Draco. I don't know. I mean, he was very stylish.
You didn't want him to be like a heartthrob.
No, I suppose not. The only bit where
Which
he wasn't was where you see his
he
feet
really
getting out
has.
of bed.
He really has become a heartthrob.
Yeah.
I have friends who aren't particularly...
Bad looking.
That's true.
It's very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I have friends who aren't particularly big Harry Potter fans, but they're like Draco Malfoy fans.
Yeah.
And also, what I thought you were going to say, which isn't really super relevant, but they had to sew his pockets shut because he kept sneaking food onto set. So the wardrobe department sewed his pockets shut.
That's hilarious. I didn't know that.
No, I didn't.
That's okay. Remembering the outtakes for Philosopher's Stone, I can totally see him doing that. You know, when he was fighting with Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah.
Do you want to just introduce the script writing again?
Yeah, sorry.
So
Writing. You're fine.
it's fine. It was quite.
It's quite funny.
Yeah. So, what do you think about how he was written into the script? His dialogue, I guess. How the script.
You know, my favourite bit of Draco's script is his ad-libbed bit of I didn't know you could read.
I didn't know you could read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do really like it in the third one where he does the Dementor.
Dementor. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Dementor. Does it too much? Dementor.
Well, he's Draco Malfoy, isn't he? He's cream.
He's extra.
Posh boy.
I suppose. But yeah. I believe that.
I didn't know you could read.
Yeah.
He forgot his line, so he was like,
that was
I'll just say that
brilliant.
instead.
I do really want to know what the line was though.
Me too.
Excuse me, but I love the bit where he says to Hagrid, "I'll get you done for this or whatever. You and your bloody chicken."
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that bit as well. Although, you know, the thing that I don't like, and the thing that I do like really, is that they use him for comic relief quite a lot. And I think, you know, I wish in a way he was a bit meaner. Like he was, because in Harry Potter, the books, he was in there so much, like dabbled into little bits, you know, Draco said this, Draco said that.
Yes, and I think that's why I dislike him so much, because I'm more into the books than the film.
Right. Yeah, the films definitely set him up for it's almost like from the very beginning they knew they wanted to give him some kind of
he's
redemption.
Like a comic villain.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's interesting that they did that, and I think they got all his dialogue right.
Yeah.
I don't think they ever missed out anything that was, you know, really important.
Although he had like 2 scenes that were like 1 second long, and so he didn't get like any of his like prefect stuff of like that's nice.
I mean, if they were going to split Deathly Hallows, they should have split Order of the Phoenix.
I think I was like a seagull. Anyway, this is completely off topic, but I feel like, to be honest, I feel like they should have split any of them.
No,
I don't like them splitting them. But
number 5 they had less important information, whereas in 7,
Yes.
all of the
And
information was
also-
important.
And also, yeah, and I feel like the 5th one you couldn't have split because there wasn't any way to make it 2 stories.
True.
That makes
suppose
sense.
not. But it's like, J.K. Rowling herself said that although a lot of people said that number 5 should have been edited to make it shorter, the book, she said, well, you go through it and tell me what you would take out.
Yeah.
Because she wrote it.
There's nothing.
And I don't think
thing-
there is. I think it's all. I get sick of hearing about how Harry was angrily saying this angrily, But I can see why she did.
Yeah, it's like, did you read the Stephen King's review?
Yes.
I love it when he dedicates a whole paragraph to talking about how, like, we don't need to hear that someone said this angrily and seriously. Have you heard the Stephen King quote that, I think it's in his book about writing, he said, "The road to hell is paved with adverbs." He really hates
I must
adverbs.
have read it because I've read that book, but it was
Yeah.
when it first came out, I think. Certainly a long while ago.
Yeah.
I'm very old.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about Tom Felton's acting, and I just wanted to point out to Lucy and my mum. I was about to call you Diana then. It's really weird. This video that I watched, and you can find it easily on YouTube. I think we'll probably link it. I'll make a note. There's a video of all of Draco's scenes put together, and it's quite interesting to see his like journey, if you like.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I was actually quite curious to see if there was like a Harry, Ron and Hermione one, like individual, and I was like, that'd be like 3 hours long. But anyway,
When you were saying that, are you joking?
But with Draco it's quite easy because the whole video is 17 minutes and 51 seconds long. And I thought it was interesting to kind of talk about the different sections and how long they are. So the first 11 minutes are the first 5 films, so that means the last 6 minutes and 51 seconds are the last 3 films. No, yeah, that's right, isn't it? 3 films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's 8. So that's quite interesting. Well, I thought it was anyway.
This isn't all that you see of him in the films, though, is it?
This was every single scene that he had.
So in 10 years, he was only in the film for less
All
than
those
18 minutes.
years of
Yeah.
bleaching his hair.
Oh my word!
I think it is anyway. I mean, but people in the comments feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's every scene. I couldn't think of any others.
Or at least where he's not just like in the background.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So in the 4th movie, he has a grand total of 2 scenes, albeit they're quite long, taking up 87 seconds, which it doesn't sound much, and 17 minutes 51 seconds doesn't sound much, but when you're filming a scene, it takes if you think of every minute takes an hour, pretty much, so it takes a long time, maybe do 10 minutes to an hour, I don't know. It takes so long to film. That's what I'm getting at. So 87 seconds in one movie is quite impressive. But then in the 5th film, where, as we said in the timeline, that's when he has quite a good year with the Inquisitorial Squad and everything. He only has 3 very short scenes, and they only take up 27 seconds in the whole movie. But in the 6th, however, his total screen time is just over 5 minutes, which is amazing for a supporting role. It's very impressive to have 5 minutes as a supporting role. Yeah, in a 2-hour movie, well, I think it's probably about 2 hours, I don't know.
Still seems like hardly any, considering how significant he is in that.
But think of like every minute is precious to a film writer. But he had.
He is much more obvious presence in the 6th film.
Yeah. And he has lots of little scenes like dabbled in here and there of him holding the bird, and I really like that they just kind of they let you forget about Draco and laugh about things, and then he comes back for a few seconds, and then you forget, and you're and then he comes back, and it's all depressing for 5 seconds. So I thought that was my little bit. And then we had some discussion questions as well. So shall I read them out, or do you want to read them out, Lucy? Or?
Sorry, I don't know if I think people are just using the book. Can you hear that? Is it really loud? Like rushing? Okay, alright. Do you think at any point Draco genuinely believed that Voldemort was right and deserved his support, or was it all just conditioning and how he was raised?
I think he just kind of grew up parroting his parents. With the conditioning, and then when he got older, he bought into that. He wanted, and most kids do want some glory. Let's face it, you don't get much.
To interest their parents as well. Parents. I think this kind of makes me think of his wand core. At the core of himself is good. But it's just all wrapped around with confliction, and
he just say at any point, no, I don't think he does, because once he realised Voldemort was unremittingly awful and horrific, that's when his good core, sort of comes out, doesn't it? And he stops being such a plonker, or tries to, as far as he can.
Sorry, I love that word. Plonker.
Plonker. Yeah, I'd agree.
42-carat plonker, you really are.
This is a very interesting question, I think. Do you think he would have been... What kind of person would he be if he grew up with Molly and Arthur as his parents?
I think he would be quite like... I think he'd be quite like Ron, actually, because I've read my fair amount of Harry Potter fan fiction, and in a lot of them, a lot of people, as I say, people like either love to love Malfoy or love to hate Malfoy. Draco. And usually, because I like Draco, I read the ones where the author also likes Draco, and they paint him as it's like Draco being Gryffindor AU or something like that. AU is also and they always have, him and Ron always have a similar sense of humour, a very sarcastic, kind of dry sense of humour. And I do think that Ron has a really mean sense of humour sometimes.
Lewis says that, doesn't
he? Yeah. So I think he would be quite funny.
Maybe, I don't know if I'm being too literal and boring about this, but I feel like if he, it's the whole nature nurture thing. I feel like he would just be exactly the same as any of the Weasleys, wouldn't he? Because
then you have to look at the Weasleys. Percy was an absolute idiot.
That's true.
Yeah, I do think that it would be whether Draco would maybe think of his parents as a little bit odd, or I don't know.
You think what if Molly and Arthur were his parents? He'd think they were odd.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all of their children think that, especially Arthur. They all think that he's crazy.
He's eccentric.
Yeah.
But my dad's eccentric, so I could live.
Yeah. I don't know. That is true, though. He probably would just end up like a Weasley, but maybe because he's very prideful about being a Malfoy, maybe he'd be really prideful about being a Weasley. He'd
possibly,
be really into it.
He'd be like, we're blood traitors. Yeah. No, I get that, because I feel like people are like, oh, if you were born in to a different family, blah blah, you'd be completely different. If I wasn't born at this exact time to my parents in this exact area, I'd be a completely different person. I wouldn't be me.
Memories.
Yeah, you are just how you're raised and the people you are around, and I guess you could argue to some extent you have some sort of innate. Well, I don't know. I personally, I don't think personality is. I think that's all acquired.
Really?
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't at all.
No, me neither.
I think where you're brought up and you're brought up by and with, I think that brings out what's already there, and I think it either mitigates or exacerbates what's already there.
Well, like, I don't want to pull the year older than card, but as well, I think
Make that sound as if we're both the same age.
no.
You know, rather than 30
Well,
years
but
difference.
like, I was just doing it in the way that we've been pregnant and you. I would hope that you haven't. And like, when you have a child, literally in you, you can feel that they have personalities. And it's quite strange, actually. You know, I could feel Matilda's personality, even as a fetus. You know. Yeah.
That sounds really odd, but I know what you.
Yeah, and like when you watch like little baby videos, you know, each little one has their own little cheeky parts about them. But I mean, you could argue that that is, you know, part of the mother's personality coming through, or even their memory.
Yeah, but take that analogy on. I've had 3 pregnancies. You've only had 1.
True.
And each of those 3 pregnancies
Are
were
all
different. And each of my 3 children, I've always described you all as chalk, cheese and rubber, because it's just completely different.
Yeah, we all are.
Even though there are similarities, you are very different.
Yeah. I just shot you down there.
Yeah, you are wrong.
Yeah,
No, yeah,
like Mr. Wormwood. I'm old, you're young.
What do you think would have, what would he have ended up as if he did manage to kill Dumbledore? If he managed to...
I think he'd have ended up as a shambling mess like his father. I don't know if he could have coped with having that.
Yeah,
But I don't know.
I think it would have really got to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you've got to take into account that if he was able to kill Dumbledore, then his personality would probably be different.
Right.
So he'd probably be really up himself and be really proud of himself. Like, oh yeah, look at me. And like, Voldemort wouldn't be able to deny that, yeah, he flipping well did the job that I specifically assigned him to do, that specifically he wasn't meant to be able to do. That's really cool. And now Dumbledore is dead. Whoopee, you know.
But he might. He used Draco as a tool. Voldemort, it's in Deathly Hallows. Harry sees, you know, when he tunes into Voldemort, and he realizes that Draco is basically being used as a tool to torture people on Voldemort's behalf. Yeah, so Voldemort, if he had managed to kill Dumbledore by those, you know, by either the necklace or the bead, Voldemort would probably have had him. But yeah, anyway.
I forgot.
Yeah.
God, he probably is.
What do you think he would have ended up like if he'd killed
Oh.
Dumbledore?
I mean, yeah, that's a complicated one, because if he had, like Elizabeth said, if he had not killed Dumbledore, that would mean that I guess if he'd have just, like, kind of powered through, I guess, and just done it, I think he would have just been really, probably had, like, PTSD from it, like, be really, really, I don't think he'd be like, oh, yeah, I killed Dumbledore, I'm gonna, like, be really evil.
I'm going to see Draco singing that in my head.
Put a wand against his head, said a Avada, now he's dead. It's so much better if I actually did it well.
Do the fan fiction and rewrite the song.
Voldemort has the devil put aside for you. Sorry.
Yeah, I think he would have just been really, like, he just hated himself for it, basically.
Yeah, I agree. We haven't called.
How do you think he would have been different if Harry had accepted his friendship? I like to think that that Harry would have like been really nice to him, and he would have almost like brought him to the good side quicker. Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. I think Draco is quite
Impressionable.
malleable. Yeah, impressionable is the better word.
Malleable.
Moldable, I think is probably what I was going for in that way.
Malleable makes sense.
Just have like a horrible image of like a Play-Doh Draco and Harry just. Yeah. Yeah, I do think he would probably have just kind of gone along with Harry as well, you know. He is, oh no, I was gonna say he's one of those people that follows, but he is actually quite a leader, you know, with his circle of friends. He's the leader, so maybe he wouldn't have been
That's true.
very cool with having Harry as his leader.
Yeah.
Maybe if Harry was like an actual evil wizard, he would have liked it, but yeah.
I find that a weird thought. I remember when I was reading through these questions and that just weirds me out.
Probably just because I have read, I can't remember any of them now, or when I was a teenager, I've read a lot of like Draco is a good person, alternate reality kind of fanfic.
I think if Harry had accepted Draco's friendship, the change would be more in Harry than in Draco.
You think?
Yeah, I do. I think that would say a lot more about Harry than Draco.
Maybe Harry would be less good and Draco would be less bad, and they'd both be kind of neutral.
That'd make a
Do you think if what if Harry hadn't have met him at Madame Malkin's, and if he hadn't have, because he got the impression from Ron of Slytherins being really horrible people, so if he'd have, you know, got with Malfoy on the train, then he might have
like
been in
if
Slytherin.
He saw Malfoy first instead of Ron.
Yeah.
No, if Harry's personality stayed the same, I don't think he'd have liked Malfoy. Malfoy was a jumped up little oik the minute he got, you know, to his childhood. Yes, he did.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But even if he'd been with someone other than Ron, is it Hagrid as well who goes on about how Slytherins are all evil?
Harry, because he's with Ron, so he's nasty to Harry. So if Draco didn't see Harry with Ron, maybe Draco would have been a bit nicer to Harry. So
That's
maybe
true.
he would have. Harry would have.
But I was thinking
like,
also
this
because
nice
he's
boy
been
is trying to be friends with me, and I don't have
but
any
also
friends.
the fact that does Hagrid as well go on about how Slytherins are really evil and horrible, right? Because if he hadn't have,
when they're waiting for the sorting hat to be put on their heads, Ron turns to Harry and says, "There isn't a witch or wizard who went bad who wasn't in Slytherin." But I can't remember in the book.
I think in the book he mentions something about
a lot. I feel in the book about Slytherins being bad.
Yeah, but if you dissect that little piece of text, dialogue, it's not saying that every Slytherin was bad. It was just saying of those who went bad, the vast majority were in Slytherin.
Yeah. But I think Hagrid does really say like, oh yeah, you don't want to be in Slytherin. So I was just thinking maybe if he hadn't have got that from so many people.
Yeah, it was because he said there were a lot of. But I think he was the nicer of the lot.
And he says that I'd rather be that one than Slytherin or something.
Yeah. Well, just because if he hadn't got that from two people, he might have not begged the sorting hat to not be in Slytherin, and he probably would have.
Bad in a way, because Slytherin has good traits. And
well, and he probably would have been sorted in Slytherin if he hadn't been told.
Yeah.
But then that's questionable whether he is a Slytherin or if that's mostly the part of Voldemort in him, isn't it?
Yeah, I do think it's the part of Voldemort
he would have.
Picking up on. He's just way too humble for that.
He would have been put in Slytherin though. I think that would have been interesting.
Harry's way too humble to be actually in Slytherin. I think it's the bit of Voldemort that the hat is picking up.
Yeah, but the hat, yeah, possibly. But then you think, how on earth did Peter Pettigrew end up in Gryffindor?
Oh, I don't know that either. But Peter probably asked to be in Gryffindor.
Well, he probably values bravery,
Yeah.
even if he
Yeah.
isn't brave.
Yeah,
He probably does
that's-
value.
onto it.
Yeah. Whereas Harry I feel like Harry probably values bravery more than.
This is kind of off topic, but I was when we went on our like little murder mystery thing.
Oh, yeah.
We were all my two friends who I was with. I let them borrow my 2 Hufflepuff scarves, and I was wearing a Hufflepuff tie. And we went into Magic Alley, and the lady who was like greeting us was like, "Oh, Hufflepuffs, like, good job" or something. And we were talking to her. We were saying like, "Yeah, I can't wrap my head around the idea of someone valuing ambition or bravery or wisdom over being a good, nice person. Like, even if you are a really ambitious person, I can't wrap my head around thinking that is
More
better than being nice."
But that's because you are nice. Some people just don't really give a stuff about that.
And you got to take into account antisocial people as well. People who don't like other people. There are plenty of those in the world.
But you can still be antisocial and like
a nice person.
And still think that it's better to be nice to people than be really brave. I don't know.
That's true. You make a good point. I never thought about it like that.
But that's just the Hufflepuff in me, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a good point. That's true. And I do often feel like maybe it's because I'm Hufflepuff and excuse me because you're a Gryffindor, but I do often feel like Gryffindor, Ravenclaw and Slytherin all have a bit of pride, like not in a slightly negative way.
Yeah. Ooh, I like this question.
Thank you.
Do you, now on to the only good thing about Cursed Child. Do you think the friendship between Scorpius and Albus had any effect on Draco's relationship with Harry and co?
I like to think it would, but I don't actually think it would. Yeah, maybe a bit. Like, maybe it would help Draco feel a bit better about Gryffindors on a whole. It isn't Scorpius in Gryffindor.
No,
they're both
Albus
Slytherins.
goes into Slytherin. It's ridiculous because Scorpius clearly is not a Slytherin.
No, he's not.
Neither of them are.
No.
Definitely a Hufflepuff.
But I think it was a move of like, oh look, some Slytherins are nice people.
Yeah, but they're not Slytherin. Not Slytherin. I don't know. I mean, I feel like Draco has a lot more respect for Scorpius than he does even himself. At this point, that's how I feel anyway.
But could you ever see Harry or Ron having
Chumming it up
Draco
with
story
Draco.
around for the Sunday dinner or something?
No, but I
A
mean,
dinner
like,
party.
I wonder if
Just like respecting them more.
yeah, because
maybe.
Scorpius goes round to. He probably would catch Albus before they go on the train, and maybe Draco and Harry, or Draco and Hermione, or Draco and Ron say like an awkward hello.
Yeah, they probably have one of those awkward, like, oh, our kids are friends, but like, I don't really know you, even though they obviously do know each other in this case.
I used to be your bully kind of awkward.
There is do Draco and Harry speak, or there is something.
They have kind of a working
I only read it
relationship.
once, that was
they
enough.
Have, they have an at-work relationship, kind of.
But Draco doesn't have to work, so what? Why was he?
Oh, I thought he was working in the ministry.
I don't know if he did. He didn't have to. If you read
Is this
up on it,
Cursed
Draco
Child
became
you're talking
a
about?
collector of ancient manuscripts and some dark artifacts, although he put them in glass-fronted cases and never actually used them, whereas his father was prepared to use them.
I've only ever read Cursed Child once.
Yeah,
and it was at like midnight to 4 a.m.
Yeah,
So
all three of us are not, and all three of us have tried to block it out as much as possible.
I just remember sitting up in bed reading it, going, "No, what? No, what?"
But also, we've never seen the show.
Yeah, that's true.
No, and I can see it would make good theatre.
Yeah.
But I mean, Albus is the best thing to come out of that. No, sorry, not Albus, not at all. Scorpius is the best
Scorpius.
thing. Sorry, Albus. I used to think that was a really odd name, but then I was like, well, his name's Draco, so I mean, he had no hope, did he?
Did you know this is completely irrelevant. But oh, actually, yeah, no, I feel like Elizabeth, you know Bertie Gilbert.
Yes.
Yeah, he's one of my favourite kind of short filmmakers.
Yeah.
And he plays Scorpius in the last movie, which is kind of fun.
He does?
Did
I'm
you not
saying
know that?
as if I knew that. I didn't know that.
It's really cool. I obviously I didn't know that when I watched the films, obviously, and then I didn't know that when I was watching his films. And then he did a video that was like Scorpius reviews the Harry Potter movies, and yeah, it's quite cool, quite nice. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it really is, isn't it? Sorry, I know you're not lying, but it's really weird.
Yeah.
Active filmmaker has made a total of 7 short films.
Oh my word, that's so weird. I just saw like him like close up as Scorpius, and his hair is really awkward.
Yeah, he doesn't look good.
No, he doesn't look good at all. I don't think Tom Felton, his hair in the first 2, it was not good. It's a weird way, but when I was watching that video of all of his scenes, I just couldn't stop staring at his hair and imagining how crunchy it would feel to like.
It's so bleached. Yeah.
Well, no, and all of the hard hair gel.
Yeah.
Anyway. So that concludes this episode of Potterwatch from page to screen.
Keep twiddling the dial.
Keep each other safe. Keep faith.
Good
night.
Although he wasn't toasting marshmallows. He was trying to toast Dumbledore. I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh.